There's a fungus that lives on almost every single one of us. It's a silent passenger, just hanging out in our bodies. But what happens when this completely normal resident goes rogue and turns into a deadly, drug-resistant menace? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the secrets of Candida tropicalis.
Okay, so let's dive right in. First off, what are we even talking about here? Candida. It's a type of yeast, a fungus, and it's a totally normal part of our body's ecosystem. For the most part, it just lives on our skin, in our gut, you name it, and it doesn't cause any trouble at all. It's just there. But researchers have started using some very different and pretty alarming words to describe one particular species. A paper from 2014 called Candida tropicalis, an emerging nosocomial menace. Now, nosocomial just means it originates in a hospital. This isn't a benign passenger anymore. In the right setting, it becomes a predator.
So how does a common everyday fungus transform into this deadly foe, a foe that's capable of causing some absolutely devastating and often super rare infections? Let's take a look.
When C. tropicalis gets invasive, it does not mess around. Case studies have documented some truly shocking stuff. We're talking about brain abscesses, not only in a premature baby in an ICU, but also in a perfectly healthy 19-year-old. It's been found causing endocarditis, which is a severe infection of the heart valves, and even perinephric abscesses, basically a collection of pus around the kidneys. This fungus can get almost anywhere.
So what gives this one species such a dangerous edge? What makes it so formidable? Well, let's get into the specific weapons, the virulence factors in its arsenal.
The number one superpower of Candida tropicalis can be summed up in a single word: biofilms. This is the absolute key to its success as a bad guy and a huge challenge for modern medicine.
So how does this work? It's basically a four-step process. First, you get some individual fungal cells attaching to a surface. Think of something like a medical catheter. Then they start to grow and multiply. But here's the crucial part. Step 3. The colony starts to ooze out this protective slime, this matrix that covers the whole community. And the end result? A mature biofilm that acts like a collective suit of slime armor, shielding the fungus from our immune system and the drugs we use to fight it.
And this is where it gets really dangerous. See, a single free-floating Candida cell, it's relatively easy to kill with antifungal drugs, but once it joins that biofilm community, its resistance just skyrockets. The drugs literally can't get through that slime armor to kill the cells hiding inside.
And that brings us right to the heart of the matter, the growing crisis of antifungal resistance. We're going to focus on the most widely used drug out there, which is called fluconazole.
Just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, one study from 2023 looked at Candida bloodstream infections in India, and it found that C. tropicalis was the most common species they found. It was even more common than the famous Candida albicans. So yeah, it's a major player on the scene.
And it is becoming incredibly hard to treat. Way back in 2015, one study found that almost 38% of C. tropicalis samples were already resistant to fluconazole.
Okay, but then, get this. A 2019 study in an ICU found that only 9% of the samples they took were actually sensitive to fluconazole. Let that sink in. In that hospital, the main go-to drug was basically useless.
So what's actually happening on a molecular level? Well, scientists have zeroed in on the main genetic culprit. It's a gene called ERG11.
Here's how it works, and it's actually pretty clever. Fluconazole, the drug, is designed to attack a very specific enzyme that's made by that ERG11 gene. But mutations are changing the fungus's genetic code, and that changes the shape of the enzyme. So the drug, which is like a key, just can't fit into the lock anymore. The fungus has effectively changed the locks on us.
But hey, this isn't a totally one-sided story. As the fungus evolves, our science is evolving right along with it. So let's look at how researchers are developing some brand new tools to fight back against this threat.
When you're treating a severe infection, speed is everything. It used to take weeks to grow a fungal culture just to figure out what you were dealing with. A huge delay when someone's life is on the line. Now, we've got technologies like MALDI-TOF-MS, which basically uses a laser to analyze the fungus's protein fingerprint. It can ID the species in hours. And even better, you've got PCR-based tests that can spot those critical resistance mutations in the ERG11 gene in just a matter of minutes to hours. This lets doctors pick the right drug from day one.
And this has led to a whole arsenal of these rapid diagnostic tools. You're seeing methods here with names like T-ARMS, PCR, and HRM analysis. They're all just different ways of using DNA to quickly and accurately tell the difference between the strains we can treat and the ones we can't.
The bottom line is, we don't have to guess anymore. These tools give doctors the precise info they need right when they need it, and that can literally save lives by not wasting time on a drug that was never going to work.
But despite all these incredible scientific advances, the big picture is still pretty concerning. This isn't just about one patient or one hospital. Candida tropicalis is a sign of a looming global health challenge.
The stakes could not be higher. That 2019 ICU study we talked about, it found a mortality rate of over 31%. And another recent analysis found that for these invasive infections, the crude mortality rate can be higher than 50%. These are incredibly deadly infections.
And what's really scary is how it's spreading. Using genetic sequencing, scientists have figured out that this isn't just random resistance popping up here and there. No, a specific highly resistant version, known as Clade 4, is spreading clonally. That means it's basically a single superstrain making copies of itself, and it's marching through hospitals in India. And this same lineage is genetically related to resistant strains they're finding in China and Taiwan. We're talking about a clone that has evolved to dodge our immune systems, and it is on the move.
Researchers believe that the emergence of this clone is a signal that a much bigger spread is coming. They're sending out an urgent call for more genomic surveillance and better antifungal stewardship, which basically means being much more careful with the drugs we have to stop this regional problem from blowing up into a global crisis.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty sobering thought. Candida tropicalis is just one example of an emerging superbug. It's a powerful reminder that we're in a constant evolutionary arms race with the microbial world around us. And the real question is, as new threats like this keep popping up, are we actually prepared for the fight?